Okay, Aisha, we'll come back in 5 minutes. Okay, so what were we doing in the previous class? I think we have to start the kingdom fungi, right? Hmm?
No,
Yes
I
or
was
no?
absent in the last class.
You were absent. Okay, I did start kingdom fungi, but since only one student was present in the previous class, so I'll do it once more. Okay. And as far as your school has not yet started, when will they start your classes?
I mean, it starts late in India, right?
Uh, so it's like according to the ones like how it is done in India.
Yeah, because I'm shifting to India, right? That's why.
So, it is May, right? So
Yeah,
your
it's gonna start in
classes
June.
hmm, after the summer vacation mostly starts. June or I think July also. July,
In my state, it's June.
June. Now, see, so we had completed the kingdom Protista. Now, let's begin the next kingdom, that is the kingdom Planti. Now, see, this kingdom has not been very elaborated in this particular chapter. It's because there is a separate chapter assigned specially for this kingdom. All the plants and everything we have to study in a different chapter. Now, when we talk about the kingdom Planti, majority of them are chlorophyll-bearing organisms, and obviously they are eukaryotes, right? But it's not that all of them are chlorophyll-bearing organisms. Few of them are heterotrophic as well, right? There are some species that cannot make their own food, so they have other mechanism of getting the nutrition. For example, some plants are insectivorous. Insectivorous meaning they take insect as their diet. One such example is bladderwort. Another example is the most common Venus flytrap. Okay, Venus flytrap. This picture is like, I really like this picture. It's so descriptive. You see how it's obtaining its nutrition, right? So these plants, they cannot make their own food. So they are insectivorous. They take insects as their diet. Then there are certain plants again that are incapable of synthesizing food from like on their own. So they make they live as a parasite. So now in this picture, those yellow strands that you see, the yellow ones, that is Cuscuta. Okay, it is the plant that is achlorophyllous, meaning it doesn't have the chlorophyll. That is why it's yellow in color. And other than that, it lives on top of the body of other plants and derive its nutrition from them. Clear? So the green ones are the
Yeah.
healthy normal plants that do photosynthesis. And the yellow one is the parasitic plant, Cuscuta, which is very commonly called as Amarvel. You might have studied about this in 10th also, if you remember. So this was about the members. Now, just like how the kingdom Animalia has been divided into phylums, same way the kingdom Plantae has been divided into divisions. So starting with the most primitive till the most advanced. So there is the division algae, bryophytes, pteridophytes, gymnosperms and angiosperms. All of these are the different divisions of the kingdom Plantae, which you will be studying in the next chapter. That's coming after this. Then comes the kingdom fungi. Now this kingdom, particularly for all the heterotrophic organisms, none of the members of this particular kingdom can make their own food. All are heterotrophic. Many a times they can be parasitic and they are very poisonous also. Some members are very poisonous. Now, the first picture that you see over here, it's the occurrence that I think almost all of us has seen someday or the other, right? The bread going bad, the fungus developing on it. So the fungi on the moist bread, it is mold. It's called as mold. Then the button mushrooms, I think we consume it, right? It is the edible fungi. So the mushrooms that we eat, it is a fungus. Then you might have seen this particular mushroom in the WhatsApp emoji, right? The red mushroom. It's actually one of the most poisonous mushroom in the world. Okay, it's like you eat it, your whole entire central nervous system will be shut down. Whole entire central nervous closed. Then comes the parasitic fungi. That this is this is the leaf of a mustard plant, and on it, if you see these white spots, they are caused because of the parasitic fungus. Clear? So these are some of the occurrences of the mushrooms. Now remember that all the members in the kingdom fungi, they are multicellular, except for one, which is yeast. The scientific name of yeast is Saccharomyces, and it is a unicellular. It is the only unicellular fungi. The rest, all the members of this particular kingdom, they are filamentous. They form filaments and they are multicellular. In terms of their habitat, talking about where are they found. So the fungi, they are cosmopolitans. They are very commonly known as cosmopolitans. Why? It's because you can find them in the air, you can find them in the water, you can find them in the soil, you can find them on the plant's body, on the animal's body. You can find them everywhere. So that is why we call them as cosmopolitans, because they occur everywhere. Other than that, they prefer warm and humid places to grow. That is the very reason why we put our leftover food or whatever food items in the refrigerator. Because in the refrigerator, the environment is very cold and it is dry. So the fungus can't grow. But if you keep your food on the dining table for one day, that's more than enough for the fungus to come along on the food.
But
Now,
even if you keep it in the fridge, still the fungus will get in.
that's when the food was outside, when it got contaminated. And after that, you put it in the fridge, still it will grow. But it's like the food, you have not touched it with your hands. It has not been contaminated with anything. When if you keep it, like cover it nicely and keep it in the refrigerator, then the food will not catch the fungus. Yeah. Now, talking about the body of the fungi, so it is long and it is slender. It is long, it is thin, and it is made up of thread-like structures that are called as hypha. Okay, so this is like long, thin, thread-like structure called as hypha. Now, when this several hyphae, it comes together and forms like a network or like a bunch or like a trough. Trough means like a bundle. So we call it as mycelium. So when the fungi, they are bigger in size, so the trough of hypha is found in them, that is called as the mycelium. Clear?
Yeah.
Now, when we talk about the hypha, it is of two types. I'll tell you what are the two types. First of all, branched and unbranched, you understand? Like for example, if this is a fungal hypha, okay? Now, when this hypha, if I say it is branched, then it will be like this, isn't it? Branchings are there like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a branched case. But before that, remember that the hypha or hyphae, it is of two types. The first type of hypha is called as cenocytic hypha. Cenocytic, you can call it as cenocytic also to remember the spelling, cenocytic, or you can call it as aseptate. Do you know what is the meaning of a septa? Any idea? No idea? You can say, ma'am, I don't have any idea. How will you know? You've never studied this before.
I
So
don't know.
so there is one condition in which, for example, if this is hyphen number 1, so there are multiple nuclei. Okay, so it is a multi-nucleated condition. Okay, but is there any cell wall present in between the nuclei?
No.
No. So the kind of hypha in which a multi-nucleated situation is there without any septa. Septa means wall. It means wall, or you can call it as cross wall. So when the hypha doesn't have the septa present, we call it as aseptate, or you can call it as cenocytic. The next condition is when there will be multiple nuclei in the hypha, but now this is septate hypha. Septa are present in between the nuclei. Clear? So the fungal hyphae,
Yeah.
it is of two types, cenocytic, aseptic, and then the next is septic. Then it could be branched or unbranched. Clear? So, and you only tell me what is the cell wall of fungi made up of? Hmm?
Bacteria, right?
Huh?
Peptidoglycan.
That's for bacteria. Bacterial cell wall is made up of peptidoglycan. What is the fungal cell wall made up of? Chitin. Okay, the fungal cell wall is made up of chitin. Remember that. Chitin and polysaccharides together. If you can't remember chitin, remember chitin to remember the spelling. Now, some hypha, they are continuous tube with multinucleated cytoplasm, and we call them as cenocytic hypha. But when there is the presence of the cross wall, then you call it as septate. Clear?
Yeah.
Then the fungi, they also have a cell wall present, and the cell wall of the fungi is made up of chitin and polysaccharide. Now talking about the mode of nutrition. Now since they are heterotrophic, so in them saprophytic mode of nutrition is there, parasitic is there, and also symbiotic situation is also there. Now symbiotic, see, symbiotic is an association. Association means when two organisms live closely with each other. For example, the first example of symbiotic association is lichen. Lichen is the symbiotic association of a fungus with an algae. So when a fungus is present with an algae, we call it as lichen. And when the fungus is present with the roots of higher plants, it's like living in association together. Okay, so that is called as mycorrhiza. Now, what is the significance of this symbiotic association? It's that in the algae, algae makes food, right? It is photosynthetic.
Yeah.
So, algae will make food and it will provide food to the fungus. The fungus will absorb nutrients for the algae. So, it will give raw materials to the algae. So, it's like both of them are helping each other. So, this kind of a relationship where both of them are benefited by each other, we call it as symbiotic relationship. Clear? The
Yeah.
examples of symbiotic relationship are lichen and mycorrhiza. Any doubts?
But why would the roots need fungi? Like it's getting the materials from the soil itself, right?
Huh. But what happens is that sometimes the roots are not very capable of, getting as much vitamins and minerals from the soil. So for that, fungi is there. And some roots are not at all capable of getting nitrogen. So for that, fungi is there. Fungus gives the nitrogen to the roots. Clear? The rest, like water and all, the plants can absorb very easily. But for minerals, for that, the fungus is clear. Now, the reproduction in the case of fungi, it is of three types: vegetative, asexual, and then sexual reproduction. Now, vegetative reproduction can be of three types, or it can be done by three methods. That is fragmentation, budding, and fission. Fragmentation, that it will break into certain fragments. Each of these fragments will grow into a new fungus. Budding is like bud is an outgrowth that is present on the fungus, and when this bud will detach, it will become a new fungus. So budding is also there. And then fission, you already know. First, the genetic material will divide and then the cell will divide. Now remember that the buds, they are of two types: exogenous and endogenous. Now the buds that are grown on top of the body of the fungi or the parent, that is called as exogenous bud. And the bud that grows inside the body of the parent, then that is called as endogenous bud. Clear? Any doubts?
No, but the bird is usually grown out of the parent's
It
body,
is,
right?
yeah, most of the times it is from the outside only. It is exogenous. But then Sometimes it could be endogenous as well.
Okay.
Okay. Now comes the asexual spores. Now see, asexual reproduction in the case of fungi, it is done by asexual spores many a time. Remember that for sexual reproduction, they will have sexual spores, and for asexual reproduction, they will have asexual spores. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about the sexual spore. So, talking about the examples of sexual spores, there is the first one, which is called as conidia. Now, before we discuss about the spores, there is one more thing that I would like to tell you, that spores also, they are of two types. Spores could be exospore or endospore. Again, if the spore is being formed from the outside of the parent body, we call it as exospore. And if it is being formed from the inside of the parent body, it is called as endospore. Clear?
What are the examples for this?
We'll see here that asexual spores, some examples are conidia, sporangiospores, and zoospores. These are the three examples of asexual spores. Now, talking about their origin, so conidia is an exospore. It forms outside. Sporangiospores, these are endospores. They form inside the parent. And zoospores also, they are endospores. Clear? For example, if I tell you like this, if this is the parent fungal body, okay? Now, conidia will be formed like this from the outside, okay? So, it is an exospore formed on the outside, on the body of the parent. And then if we are talking about the zoospore, so they will be formed inside. And then they will be released. But since they are being formed inside, we call them as endospore. Clear?
Yeah.
After that, there comes the sexual reproduction. Now, in them, the sexual reproduction takes place by sexual spores. And these spores, remember the sexual spores, they are formed inside specialized structures. And those structures are called as fruiting bodies. So remember, the sexual spores, they are produced in the fruiting body. Some examples of these sexual spores are oospores, then there is basidiospores and ascospore. These are the names of the different spores that are sexual spores. Clear? Remember that spores are formed in specialized structures, and those specialized structures are called as the fruiting bodies. Okay? Now, in them, the sexual cycle, it takes place in 3 steps. The sexual cycle of the fungus, it takes place in 3 steps. What are the 3 steps? First one is plasmogamy. Plasmogamy means fusion of protoplasm. So first the protoplasm or the cytoplasm will fuse, and then karyogamy will happen. Karyogamy is the fusion of the nucleus. Okay, 2 nuclei when they will fuse together, that is karyogamy. And then meiosis of the zygote takes place. It's like very different from normal. You've seen that you have studied that chapter, human reproduction also, right? Reproduction in
Yeah.
class. Yeah. 10th. So you have seen that first, with the help of meiosis, gametes are formed, isn't it? Then
Yeah.
those gametes fuse and they make the zygote. And then the zygote divides by mitosis. So normally the gametes are formed by meiosis. The zygote is further divided by mitosis, isn't it? But here a unique case is seen that meiosis is taking place in the zygote. Meiosis is happening in the zygote to form haploid spores because they are spore producing organisms. No? They reproduce by producing sexual spores. So first of all, let us see how it will happen. For example, if this is fungal hypha number 1, which has a nuclei, okay, number 1. And there is another fungal hypha that is number 2, okay. Now, the first thing that will happen in the sexual cycle will be plasmogamy. What is plasmogamy? It is the fusion of the protoplasm. So now the next thing, imagine the situation. Do you understand what happened? The two hypha that were there, they merged into one.
Oh, okay.
But has the nuclei fused yet?
No.
No. After this step comes the karyogamy. Karyogamy is the fusion of the nuclei. Okay. So, but in some of the fungi, what happens? That there exists a temporary stage wherein one cell contains two nuclei. Temporary. No fusion happens. Temporarily, this stage is there. And after that, these two nuclei, they fuse with each other and a zygote is formed, and then this zygote develops, like it undergoes meiosis and spores are produced. Did you get the whole entire process?
Yeah.
Now this temporary pause state that I just told you about, it is called as the dikaryophase of the fungus. Okay, dikaryophase, see this. During the process of sexual reproduction, two haploid hyphae of compatible mating type, they come together and they fuse. This is called as plasmogamy. After that, their karyogamy has to happen, but that doesn't happen. Sometimes in some of the fungi, such as there is this class of fungi called as Ascomycetes and Basidiomycetes. Okay, so in them, there is a stage when there is one cell with two nuclei, not yet fused. So that is called as dikaryophase of the fungus. But then these two nuclei, they get fused, a diploid zygote is formed, and the diploid zygote undergoes the process of meiosis. Remember, process meiosis to form spores. Clear?
Yeah.
Any doubts?
So, ma'am, after the it like forms a zygote and spores. Like, what do you have? How will it become the spores? Like, will it like divide to form the spores?
Yeah, it like divides by meiosis and forms several spores. And then these spores, like if they land on the suitable place and when they will germinate, they will become a new fungal body, meaning new fungal mycelium will be formed.
Yeah.
Clear? Any
So the
doubts?
parents just disappear.
Yeah, one way or the other. Okay. Now the fungi, it is further divided into four classes according to their morphology of the mycelium, like what kind of mycelium is present in them, what is their spore formation mode, and which is their fruiting body. According to these three criteria, there are four classes of fungi: Phycomycetes, Ascomycetes, Basidiomycetes, and Deuteromycetes. Read them. Read the four classes.
Phycomycetes,
Hmm.
Ascomycetes,
Hmm.
Basidiomycetes,
Hmm.
Deuteromycetes.
Mycetes, yes. So these are the different classes of fungi. Now, just like how remember, we saw in the protozoa, there was ciliated protozoa and flagellated protozoa and sporozoa, right? Different types. Same way, the fungi, they are of different types. Okay. So further, four classes of the fungi are. The first class of the fungi is Phycomycetes. Now, the Phycomycetes is very commonly called as algal fungi. It's like common name. Okay. Now, the habit is aquatic. Okay. They are found in the aquatic habitat. They are also found in the decaying wood, damp places, and they are strictly parasitic. Okay. This one. So now remember that the members of the Phycomycetes, they are strictly parasitic. Now there are two words that you people should know. the difference in between. Okay, first is obligate. The second is facultative. Now see, obligate means strictly. Obligate parasite, it means that they are strictly parasitic. There is no other way that they can get their nutrition, strictly. But if I say facultative parasitic, it means that they can do other modes of nutrition, but when need be, they can be a parasite. So that is the difference between obligate and facultative. If I say that the fungus is an obligate parasite, it means that it is strictly, it has to do its nutrition through the parasitic mode. But if I say that it is facultative parasite, it means that it can do nutrition by other means also. But if need be, it can be parasitic, whenever according to the situation. Okay. So, but when we talk about the phycomycetes, they are strictly parasite. No other way that they can have their nutrition.
Ma'am,
Now, in
facultative again?
huh?
Can you explain facultative again?
See, obligate means strictly. Facultative means I have taken the example of parasite. Okay, sorry, parasitic nutrition. So if the fungus is strictly parasitic, it means that it has no other way that it can get its food. It will do parasitism only, and that is it. But if a fungus is called as facultatively parasitic, it means that it can do its other mode of nutrition also. It can get nutrition from other ways. But if the situation comes along that it has to do parasitic mode of nutrition, then it will do that. So it is capable of doing both in facultative, and it is strictly made to be done one in the obligate. Clear?
Yeah, ma'am, thank you.
Now the mycelia, in the case of the phycomycetes, it is aseptate, meaning no cross wall is present, and it is cenocytic, multinucleated. Asexual reproduction in them takes place by zoospores that are motile, meaning they can move, and aplanospores that are non-motile, meaning they cannot. Now, if I'm saying that the zoospores, they are motile and they can move. So they can move with the help of, meaning what do they have with which they can move? What do they have? Legs, hands, feet. Yes. If you see your bread
No, it
having a
must have.
fungus with legs on it, you will run away from the bread. So if it is a zoospore, it is a spore, it is a very tiny microscopic structure. How can it have legs? So what makes it motile? What is that structure? You people know it.
Must have something like flagellative.
No, something like no flagella.
Oh.
Flagella is the motile structure. Okay, nothing else. Cilia cannot help to locomote. Flagella can. So absolutely correct answer, flagella. Okay. So zoospores or any cell if it is motile, it doesn't mean it will have legs. No, it will have flagella because we're talking at the cellular level, na? Only cells. So they will have flagella. Aplanospores, they are non-motile, so they cannot have flagella. Now the zoospores and the aplanospores, they are endogenously produced. Endogenous means produced inside a structure called as sporangium. They are not produced outside. Clear? Then sexual reproduction in the case of phycomycetes, it takes place by the formation of zygospore, which is formed by the fusion of two gametes. So when two gametes fuse, a zygospore is formed. Now, see, depending upon the types of gametes fusing, they are of three different types: isogamous, anisogamous, and oogamous. So if the gametes that are fusing with each other, if they are ditto, exactly similar in size and everything, in motility also, so that is called as isogametes. And the kind of reproduction or the fusion will be isogamous. Iso means same. So when the gametes are exactly similar to each other, we call that as isogametes, and the type of fusion will be isogamous. Anisogamous means, aniso means not same. So when the gametes will not be similar in size we'll call it as N-isogametes. And oogametes is one where there will be a non-motile big size female gamete and a motile small size male. So motile male, non-motile female. So that is the case of oogames. Clear?
Yeah.
Now moving on to the examples or the members of phycomycetes. So there is mucor, which is known as pin mold, rhizopus, which is known as bread mold, and albugo. Remember the plant's leaf picture that I showed that had white spots on it? It was the mustard plant, and that mustard plant, it has the albugo as the parasitic fungi on it. That is why it appears white. Okay, white spots appear because of that. Clear?
Ma, why the females always non-motile?
Not always, but in this case, in the case of oogames, but yes, in most of the situation, female gametes are non. In most, like in humans also, in most of the situation. Clear?
Yeah.
Any doubts up until now, students? Okay. Now the next class of the kingdom fungi is Ascomycetes. Now Ascomycetes, they are very commonly known as sac fungi. All the members of this particular class, they are multicellular except for one, that is yeast, which is unicellular. The mode of nutrition, it can be all of these. Saprophytic, they can be decomposers, they can be parasitic, and they can also be coprophilous. Coprophilous means those fungi that grow on the cow dung. So they consume cow dung and they grow on that. So these are the different types of modes of nutrition in this Ascomycetes. Now, the mycelium in them is branched and it is septate, meaning cross wall is present. Asexual spores are conidia that are exogenous and non-motile. Exogenous means formed outside on the body. On what? So on conidiophore. Conidiophore is the structure on top of which the conidia will be made. Clear? And when this conidia will detach, and then when it will fall on the suitable substratum, or whenever it will germinate, it will make a new mycelium. Okay? Now, the sexual spores in the Ascomycetes, since the name is Ascomycetes, so the sexual spore is ascospore. So it will be very easy to remember. Now, I told you that the spores of the fungus, it is made inside specialized fruiting bodies, right? Specialized structures which are called as fruiting bodies. So the ascospores, these are produced inside the fruiting body called as ascocarp. And ascocarp is this picture. Okay, this is the picture of an ascocarp. Now, if you invert this picture, doesn't it look like a sac? Like I have inverted this for you. So doesn't it look like a sac? Something like
It looks
how
like a nose.
it looks like a no. It looks like a nose. Yeah, a very badly drawn nose. Yes. But imagine it like that. You have to use your rough imagination here. When you invert it, it sort of looks like a sac. And since the fruiting body is sac-like, these are known as sac fungi. Okay. And this thing, see. And from this ascocarp, the ascospores are made. The examples of Ascomycetes, claviceps, neurospora, morels, and truffles. Morels and truffles are edible fungi. Neurospora is many a times used in the research work. That is why we call it as the Drosophila of the plant kingdom. Because Drosophila is the fruit fly, which is used for anything, any experiment related to animals. So neurospora is related to any, like, used for the research work for plants. So we call neurospora as the Drosophila of plant kingdom. This is a little extra for your knowledge. Okay. Any doubts in Ascomycetes?
What's claviceps?
Claviceps is the name. It is a disease causing actually phycomycetes. Claviceps purpurea is the species. So that is the case. Now, if you see how mindfully I've underlined all the scientific names, so you have to pay attention. Okay. Now, the third class of the fungi is Basidiomycetes, which is also known as the club fungi. Club means something that is aggregated together like that, club. Okay. Now the hypha in the case of Basidiomycetes will be branched and it will be septate, meaning cross wall is present. Common known forms, the mushrooms that we eat, it belongs to Basidiomycetes. Okay. So the mushrooms, the puff balls, now they are found in the soil, on the tree logs, tree stumps also at the base of the tree log, that is the tree stump, and it is also found as parasites. Now these are the parasites of plants. Okay, they cause disease. So they cause diseases in the plant such as which type of disease? Rust and smut. These are the two types of disease. Just like how we have fever, infection like that. So plant also has their separate disease, which are called as rust and smut. Okay. Now in the Basidiomycetes, the asexual spores are not present, absent. Vegetative propagation takes place by fragmentation, and sexual spores are basidiospores that are formed exogenously, meaning on top of, like outside the fruiting body called as basidiocarp. Okay, this is the picture of basidiocarp. Now, if you see in the basidiocarp, this structure, do you see these ones? So since they are present all together in like a group, that is why it is known as a club fungi. Okay, these are the ways, the different and things that makes it like it has its name. Now, talking about the different examples of the Basidiomycetes. So there is the red fungus that we have seen. That is called as Amanita. It is the most poisonous mushroom that there is. Okay, if a person has it, the whole entire central nervous system will shut down. Agaricus is the button mushroom that we eat. It is edible. Ustilago, it is the fungus which causes smut in the plants. Puccinia, it causes rust in the plant. And Amanita is the most poisonous mushroom. Now see, this is the plant picture that shows smut disease. So this here, number one, is the healthy wheat plant. Once it got infected with the Ustilago, which causes smut, then see how it becomes. Right? The whole entire husk is like eaten away. Right? It's like destroyed. So whole entire vegetation of the wheat can get destroyed. So that is smut of wheat. Smut of rye also happen, and it is caused by the Ustilago fungi. Now if you see here, this
There's
is
one
the
more
rust.
disease, right? Where on the leaves it forms like pimples and stuff thing on the plant leaves.
Fungal disease.
Yeah,
Blisters.
yeah, kind of like
Blister.
like human pimples, how it look like the same way it
Hmm.
looks on the leaves and stuff.
Okay. That is also fungal in nature. So then there is this rust of wheat. Rust means, you see, just like how we have rust on iron things, right? Rust is there. Same way, this is like number one is the healthy plant. Okay, and then second is when it is infected with the rust causing this thing. Okay, so it is caused by Puccinia. Clear? Then comes the last class of the kingdom fungi, which is Deuteromycetes. Now they are known as the imperfect fungi or the fungi imperfecti. So they are they are known as the imperfect fungi because you only the asexual reproduction is known in them and only the vegetative reproduction is known. But no sexual reproduction is known in them. That is why we're calling them as imperfect. Talking about their hyphae, it is branched and it is septate. Asexual spores are conidia. Mode of nutrition, saprophytic and parasitic. But majority of them are decomposers. They decompose the organic matter and help in mineral cycling. But like this is their maximum members of the kingdom fund, this class Deuteromycetes, they are decomposers. Okay. But some members are parasitic also, some members are saprophytic. Talking about the examples, we have Alternaria, Coletotrichum and Trichoderma. Clear?
Yeah.
Any doubts up until now, students?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Now you people can note down till here. Then we'll move forward.
Is this like a separate lesson or like part of the previous lesson?
It is part of the biological classification only. See, you people have written about kingdom protista, right? After that, you
Yeah.
write about kingdom planting.
Done, ma.
Done, students? Shall I scroll?
Yeah. I'm done.
Excuse me, mom.
Yes, Aisha.
Mom, in school under Kingdom Planting, we learned something about alternation of generation. Can you explain?
Alternation of generation actually has been removed from your syllabus, but
Oh,
yeah, it was a big topic in Kingdom Planty as a separate chapter. This is not Kingdom like Plant Kingdom chapter. You have it separately. Right now, I'm just discussing it
yeah,
because we are talking about 5 kingdom classification, right? So there are 5 kingdoms.
yeah.
I will also discuss Kingdom Animalia, but it's that Plant Kingdom and Animal Kingdom, they have been given separate chapters of their own. That is why I'm not gone in very depth in this chapter. Alteration of generation, that part actually has been deleted from your syllabus, in my opinion. I will check it, but I will teach you this thing once in that chapter, the plant
Okay,
kingdom. Okay.
yeah.
Done, students?
Yes, ma'am.
Done, students?
Almost, ma'am.
Yeah.
Mom, can you explain the types of parasitic mode of nutrition again?
See, the parasites, they are of two types, ectoparasite and endoparasite. When the parasite will be infecting inside the body of the host, we call it as endoparasite. And when it is present on top of the body of the host, we call it as ectoparasite. Clear?
Okay.
So it is with respect to the position.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Done.
Done, ma'am.
Okay, students, let's just keep it till here only. We'll continue in the next class, okay?